my name is Justin Bright, and welcome to Kerbal Space Program version 1.8.1 in my next small step RP-1 career mode playthrough. And here we are back with the Martian Moon Hopper spacecraft, which is just coming up past its Martian apoarium, which should, in theory, bring it on its one more pass, and it should get down to the point where it is going to encounter... Oh, no, not one more. Okay, so 2 or 3 more passes, and then it's going to be encountering Deimos. Yep, because you can see it's kind of coming around there. So on its next time that it is around here, we should, in theory, be able to actually make this encounter. Meanwhile, I've been fussing around with all the other stuff that we have going on. Just as a little reminder, we are rolling out the Gemini 5L, which is the lunar Gemini spacecraft that is coming on out, and we have astronauts sitting at the ready for it. The Gemini 5L spacecraft is rolling out, which has going to be the lunar Gemini, and that is going to have astronauts ready and waiting for it as we get ready for that. We should be coming up on the way there now, but slowing down a bit. We have in orbit the Gemini 6 spacecraft, which I've had to mess with its life support systems multiple times. Basically every time that I load the game, I've had to go in and turn the fuel cells on and off again to make sure that they are actually working properly, because I keep like loading up the game, time warping a day or two, and then both of the astronauts die from CO2 poisoning because the fuel cells were not working, even though they have every reason that they should be. As we are coming up now, I am going to see what I can do to adjust our trajectory to see if we can't make this a more certain encounter. Oh, this is not the last approach. I don't know what I'm thinking. This is in 4 hours, so it's going to be on the next orbit probably. I'm getting ahead of myself. So anyways, yeah, so I've had to mess with the Gemini 6's life support a whole bunch of times, and that has been kind of a pain, but it's fine. It seems to be working out okay. I'm not sure what would make that work better, because I'm using those like brick style, like the battery looking. Oh, that's fun. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's so weird. I love that slid into place as if like, oh, now we know. Now we're able to do the right calculations to see. I've never actually seen that happen in real time before. So yeah, this is the orbit where we will be encountering Deimos. But yeah, so not sure what would fix that. If I should use a different, if I should use a different type of fuel cell, or if a different like actual model might work better. It's unclear. I really have no idea. But that is going, and that is getting our astronauts some experience. And then once they're finished with that, hopefully we are actually finishing this contract. I don't know if maybe it's failed this contract out again, and I'm going to have to do it again. Looks like that's absolutely what's happened. Yes. Ugh. Yeah, I'm going to have to like either force complete this or just like force fail it, because this is driving me absolutely crazy that it's continually losing track of this contract. And once again, that's something I'm not sure why that's happening, or if it's something wrong with my install or something that I'm doing wrong. But yeah, that's not great. So anyways, let's take a look at this Deimos landing as we get a little closer. One thing I want to check before we get there is how long of a transit we have inside of the sphere of influence of Deimos. So that's 16 hours, 34 minutes. This is 16 hours, 32 minutes. So we're going to be inside the sphere of influence of Deimos for 2 minutes. And that is going to cost us... Oh, there it is. Watch for it. It's real. It goes by real fast. Yeah, so we are looking at about 650 meters per second, which is something that I can do in 2 minutes and 50 seconds. So we are basically going to be burning from the second we get into the sphere of influence of Deimos. Because remember, this is just a teeny tiny little potato, so we need to be very careful about how we actually make our approach here. All right, here we go. This is the one. This is the approach. where we are going to be meeting up with Deimos. And I'll bet you we can't even see that tiny potato from here. Oh, yep, there it is. Just a tiny little speck in the distance as we are very, very far away still. There we go. Now we can start seeing it as a discrete body of its own. Fabulous. We are just an hour away. We need to be very careful about this because we do not want to miss this even by a second. All right, here we go. It is getting really close now, so let's go ahead and we're going to just point ourselves orbital retrograde. My communications look like. Looks like it's just fine. All right, so this is apparently what the node direction. Yes, that makes a lot more sense, actually. Yeah, so this is what the retrograde is going to look like when I get into the sphere of influence of Deimos. Node is in 5 minutes, which means we will be burning in about 2 or 3. So basically, as soon as this flips and we actually enter the sphere of influence, that's when I'm going to call it and we're going to start burning our engine. Okay, close enough. We are just going to begin slowing down as we start getting in close. All right, we are still a minute away from our encounter, and I think we're actually okay. So I'm going to cease my early burn and let us get in a little bit, just a little bit closer. I want to at least be in the sphere of influence before I make this burn, because I think we're going to be just fine. There we go. Okay. So we are firing up the engines. I am hopefully not going to be smashing directly into the surface. That would be just a tragedy. And we are running our science experiments. So one thing is we have a very, very low Parademos, sure. But I think that's going to be okay because this is basically an asteroid. Like, this is so tiny, such a small body that there is no reason to treat this like a big old planet. This thing has an equatorial radius of 5 kilometers. Yeah, but look at that. We're seeing the great square patch of Deimos, which is probably some problem that I have with my shaders or whatever. Something wrong with my install is getting creaky is what I'm trying to say. I really don't blame any of the things that are going wrong, these things that I'm finding missing and other bugs and things like that. That's all almost certainly going to be issues with my install at this point because it is getting old. It is getting a little creaky. I think it's about time that I kind of reinstalled the whole thing from scratch and hope that my save survives. That's the shot. I just wish that the textures were loading in properly. So yeah, it's not, there's almost certainly it's the problem of my my install and the way that I've put this together rather than anything inherently wrong with the system, because it's just such a creaky combination of parts that I've cobbled together. Probably should have allowed my caution to stand and started this burn just a little bit earlier, but I think it should be all right. We'll end up with a higher Deimos than we otherwise would, but it really does not matter all that much because of how slow the orbital velocity is around Deimos. Because look at this, we're actually, what? Hold on, just kill the rotation, turn off that node. I just want to keep going until we orbit. I think I had it like so that I was going to be pointing and whipping around to go the other way, because that's very easy to do, because our orbital velocity for orbit is 4 meters per second. Oh my gosh, that's so ridiculous. Okay, but yeah, there we go. We have done it. We have entered into orbit around Deimos, which is just the weirdest little achievement because of how freaking tiny it is. And I'm just circularizing this so that I have a little bit more room for error, and I don't want to nudge anything for sure. But yeah, look at that. We freaking did it. All right. Awesome. So we have an orbiter that is doing its work, and it's now time for our lander to take its first little jaunt down to the surface to see what it's like on the surface of Deimos. And I think the thing that we need to go check out is what the hell that spike is about over there. Holy crap. Also, look at this 3.6 meter per second orbital velocity. Like, what even the crap? I knew Deimos was small, but I really did not have, I clearly did not understand exactly how small it was, and just how absolutely minuscule this thing was and the size of its body. So this is just a ton of bonkers fun, and I'm super stoked that we are here and exploring one of the moons of Mars. So we've hit kind of phase one of our plan here. We are going to be in orbit and we're going to do some science, and I don't see any reason why we can't stick around for the full time, because there's a long deadline on all of these contracts. So yeah, I don't see any reason why we can't just stick around for them, and just revisit the Martian Moon Hopper a couple times. There we go. So now we're going to get ourselves pointed at the sun, and I'm just going to jump over this hill is what's about to happen. I really don't see any reason why not to do that. Oh man, I'm going to have a hard time picking which screenshot to use. Yeah, so the way that this thing works, I think I've gone over this. I'm pretty sure. Didn't we design this one together? Well, if not, then we can just take a look really quick and see how this has kind of got that Pioneer Venus look to it, where it's got the engine, big satellite bus with the radar dish and the communications dish and the solar panel array sticking out the side there. It's got the docking port, the little docking port here. It looks large because this is a very, very tiny spacecraft, but that's kind of sticking right off the top here. And this is actually docked right there, just done in the VAB. So that is going to be what comes unglued when we move this off. And then we just have this teeny tiny little thing that is absolutely going to perform this landing with RCS only. And I think we're going to go check out that spike. I don't know what that's about, but it looks like fun. So I think that is what we're going to do. I do need to come around a little bit more so that we actually have signal. That is important. Well, I should probably do this when I can actually see the darn spike, so that I know that I'll have signal to it. You know what I mean? When I think I can change my inclination and it'll be fine. I'm pretty sure. Oh, look at that. Yeah, look at that. I'm just holding my RCS down, and we're just using the tiniest amount of thrust. Rotate around. There you go. Now we're going to fly directly over it. All right, show me that big weird spike. Neat. I'll betcha that's like an artifact of the process of texturing or something like that, I think. It's hard to put a flat texture on a round body, and I think that's what kind of ends up resulting from that kind of operation. But it is time to release the probe and just move towards it and see what the heck happens. So here we go. All right, so I had to do a little bit of work in updating this spacecraft. I somehow managed to forget to, or not forget, but I screwed up, and two of these, what do you call it? Two of these RCS thrusters were using nitrogen for some reason, which is clearly not what I intended. So I went in and I save edited that. And while I was in there, I also did my full reinstall of RP-1, which I do every so often to make sure that things are, working as intended and all of that. So hopefully everything is going to run a little bit better because I'm back on, you get all the benefits of just kind of making sure everything is installed properly, because I've been having a lot of little weird issues that I've never been sure if they were my fault or for doing something wrong, or if I had something installed incorrectly. And for example, you can see that with the latest version of the 16K textures, I'm not getting any of those weird block patterns from not loading properly and all of that. So hopefully everything is working better and I haven't broken anything. I did change, the only substantive change is I switched which engine light I'm using. I'm using engine lighting relit now just to try and see how that one works and if that one works any better or worse than the other one. So I will let you know what I find about that. But in general, I feel like I've reclaimed a couple frames per second and everything looks just as good as it used to, at least so far anyways. But yeah, so now we are ready to go, and it is time to decouple our little lander. Let's pop that sucker off, and then we are going to activate its avionics, stage on everything, and we are going to kill rotation. And now it's actually very maneuverable because I have all 4 of my RCS thrusters online. I actually tried to land this like just to see with just 2 of the RCS thrusters, and obviously you lose an entire axis of rotation doing that, and so it was a very bad time. So we're just gonna move right on to this fixed version. So yeah, there we go. Now I would very much like to get to that big spiky bit. So let's just do that, shall we? Wonder if I can actually use waypoint map. Oh no, the it's not even a decouple force, but just the undocking force has, look at what it's done to our trajectory. It's imparted almost a meter per second of delta V, and that has put us into an escape trajectory. So yeah, that's about how hard it's going to be to get out of Deimos once we're done here. Okay, so what was I saying? Oh yeah, I was going to see if I couldn't use Waypoint Manager. Oh, there we go. That's better. I just can't zoom in anymore. This tiny potato is just so small. Okay, so I've put this kind of close to... Look at that, that's changed. Yeah, Corning's Bump, I guess, is what we're going to call this thing. But yeah, you can actually set a little icon for it and all of that. There we go. So yeah, I'm going to use this to try to get to that location, right? So what I can do is just activate this navigation, and then that puts it on our puts it right there. Yeah, let's just go straight the heck towards it. How about we do that? See how that does us. All right, so the engine is coming in useful after all. It is letting us do this relatively quickly. All right, so we are descending now, and we have 37 days worth of electric charge on this thing because of the active, what do you call it? The active avionics means that we are drawing a little bit extra power. We would have, 5 days of power if we have the avionics on. So we only have 37 days to do stuff and get back. I honestly thought that this was going to be less, but maybe it's because there's we have expensive science experiments running even as we speak. Yeah, so once these are done, that's going to actually clear out a little bit. Like if I were to do this, and then there we go. Perpetual electric charge and all of that. Perfect. So what that means is that we have plenty of power, but we do need to be a little bit careful about that as we are going down. But we should, in theory, be able to have just about perfect power generation for this thing's entire life. That was the whole reason behind this the way that I built this thing. I'm rotating us around. I want to go up a little bit and just make sure that we are coming down pretty darn close to the thing. See the camera rotating a bunch as we're coming down here. And we should have signal for most of this pass. I do have to be a little bit careful about that, about making sure that we've touched down before this thing passes out of range. But we are just 400 meters above the surface and just looking for a good place to land. Actually, I like right here. Right over... Yeah, this thing still maneuvers very, very slowly. We're going to go this way. Are rotating. Alright, so we are going straight towards the spike. Maybe a little bit too much straight towards the spike. But I'm wanting to land like right hereabouts, because that looks like a place that is a little bit less ridiculous as far as the hills are concerned, because it's very craggy right out here. Unfortunately, this seems to just be called the Deimos Lowlands, so there's no special biome or anything here. Alright, I am now moving us to orient surface up for two reasons. First, because we are just about zeroed out on surface velocity, and second, I want to just push down at this point, just so we can actually get down here without the aid of gravity, because gravity is not helping us all that much. But we have all-way RCS, which will help us to make sure that we can land in a safe spot. Although it is very hard to tell what this spot actually looks like. Well, it looks like I was just about right in my thinking that this is indeed a safe-ish spot. Alright, we are just above the surface, zeroing out all of our other velocities. Eyes are crossing, trying to make sure that we are safe. Alright, and then I am actually pushing us down now. Turning off our, I'm turning off the smartass control and just pushing us down into the ground until we stop bouncing. Because gravity is just so darn low that we are just like doing that little dance that you would do at the end of a, look at that, and see we're rotating into the air. Yeah, so we're doing that dance that you would do as you settle into the orientation of the slope that you're on, but it's taking a very long time because, you know, there's almost no gravity here. And there's one more bounce. Trying to use RCS to push us down, but it's not really helping. Just gonna kill rotation, let us balance on this push down. Rotation killed. There, maybe? Nope, that didn't do it either. Okay. Stop touching things. I think we're finally there. Oh no, we're rotating a little bit, but I think it's okay. It took an unbelievably long time for me to get this thing settled into a position where it's landed, and it's still wiggling. Still wiggling. Ridiculous. But yeah, that's the case when you have a gravity this unbelievably low. So Deimos has a gravitational constant of 0.003 meters per second squared, which is just unbelievably slow. Compare that to 9.807 meters per second squared, which is what we have here on Earth. And yeah, you get an idea of just how ridiculous that is. But yeah, anyways, we are here. We have done it. We have landed on Deimos. I am finally able to time warp and do things properly here on the surface as we get all the science done, pressure scan, temperature scan, everything else is rolling. We have 15 days, even while we're doing all these science experiments, and they are just being sent up to our orbiter and bounced off to Earth for study, where the scientists are eagerly awaiting for the results of this exploration of one of the moons of Mars. So I could stick around here for about 30 days to try to get the magnetic scan done. And I'm not sure that's a bad idea. Like, that actually doesn't sound terrible. Now that I'm here, I don't really see any reason to hurry through this process, you know what I mean? So I think I might actually just do that and just wait and see until I get this this stuff all finished. But we're going to want to wait at least until some of these early science experiments are finished to keep the power going, you know what I mean? We have lost signal, but the science experiments continue. As the potato turns. All right, so we're back, and we have that the visible imaging science experiment is finished. Now we have power for 5 days. Oh, actually, what I can do, shut down avionics, and that gives me 37 days worth of science, even with all of these science experiments running. So I think that is what the plan's going to be, is I'm going to come back in 30 days to double check on the magnetic scan to see how that's going, and then we can make this move on down to Phobos. I think that this will be fine, theoretically, question mark. But we're going to have to do some planning once we get there. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this kind of buttoned up for now. What I still need to do is I need to do a surface sample. And surface sample complete. And now let's do the surface analysis. All right, so that's complete. And now, oops, now I've let the... Ooh, there we go. Oh, that's a cool shot. Fabulous. So yeah, so we had a fabulous passing of Mars past our view of the surface here, which just looked fantastic. But now that Mars is out of the way of our signal, we are able to send along the data from our surface sample and analysis, and hopefully we'll be able to take more surface samples. I actually have no idea if this gets like depleted like certain other things do, but yeah, we've definitely collected some, which is good. So first run, where collected 17.2 in R&D. Okay, so it looks like we get some small percentage, like 40% of the, or how to put that, we get like 61% of the value that we are able to collect of the analysis only in by transmitting. I think, if I'm understanding this correctly, that's what that means. We are getting some small amount of the science transmitted. Although part of that is we have a big backlog of data to transmit. So this is gonna go a lot faster. Once we link back up directly, we'll be able to send stuff home. So yeah, I have no idea if what of this I can transmit, but we will find that out later as well. But this is pretty much well buttoned up. We have 37 days of power. We are only running 2 experiments, mass spectrometry and magnetic scan. And so this is even going to give us even more power. So if I turn this off, then that gets up to 114 days. So yeah, we will be just fine on electricity because RTGs are fantastic, and that is exactly what I was hoping to be able to do with this. So I could possibly, even though I don't have a ScanSat map of this area, I could try to find multiple biomes to get even more science, and that would just be, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of science. So that might be something that I do, but I'm also kind of in a hurry to get myself down to Phobos because I would like to get those contracts complete, you know what I mean? But speaking of which, Deimos landing contract complete. Landing a probe on another planetary body in our system is no easy feat. I think this is the same message I got for Venus, but that is just fine. This was a fantastic piece of work here. I am pretty damn excited that we managed to get out to Mars, orbit it, intercept one of the tiny moons of Mars, and then begin gathering science from it. So I could do the hopper thing and just like bounce around and try to grab as much science as I can from multiple biomes. We'll see how much patience I have for that. I'm definitely not going to do the 30-day magnetic scan on every single biome, but I should spend at least a little bit of time doing some of these experiments, I think. And also, I'd like to just kind of move on a little bit, and get the most out of the things that we have sent. So yeah, that is kind of where we are going to leave this one for now. I am just going to put on a timer of, it looks like 29 days and 22 hours. 9 days, 22 hours. That's it. Martian Moon Hopper, scan complete. Scans complete. Yeah, so yeah, there's going to be some amount of bouncing around that I'm going to do. We will see. I don't think there's any limit to how much data that I can have. There's going to be hard drives eventually, but there's not now, so I don't need to worry about it now. So we can gather as much science as we want to, and then we will hopefully transmit it faster than 144 bytes per second. So yeah, that is where we're going to leave our lander for the next 29 days. But now I want to just double check our Martian Moon Hopper probe, which I am going to target. All right, so we're whipping around our target spacecraft, our orbiter, to face the sun, make sure that that is all settled and ready for the long haul, because this only has a couple days worth of power unless we shut. Oh no. All right, so I think the problem that I'm having right now is that I did not really anticipate just how much power the transmission of data was going to cost. So it looks like I'm going to have to shut down at least some of my experiments over time here. Maybe this orbital perturbation experiment is not entirely worthwhile. How does he see? So yeah, we're going to have to turn off a couple of these experiments or else my spacecraft is going to die. Some of these are cheap. I think Micrometeoroid is free. I don't think there's no actual power consumption here, but Cosmic Ray Science is a little bit expensive. Imaging Spectrometry is the big one. Wow. Wow, that's 12 science. Oh, is it biome? No, it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous, that's all. Okay, so I'm gonna turn that one off. I think that's good, and that's gonna get us 68 days. Oh my gosh, it's dropping rapidly. What is happening? Am I rotating? Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Okay, stay put. Thank you. Now shut down avionics. Okay. All right, so we have 73 days of power doing everything except for imaging spectrometry, which sounds fine because this doesn't look like it's worth much at all. That I'm a little bit blown away by how little that is for how much we're getting here, for how much that costs power-wise for how little we're getting out of it. Yeah, 0.016 per second electricity on this, and it looks like it's just space low, space high, so there's no difference there. So yeah, anyways, we will be able to get a whole bunch of science from the other things while we're doing this orbit, so that is just fantastic. So we are all settled in for a long trip. I am going to turn my avionics back on because, as you know, if you have avionics on and then switch off of the vessel, then it will go ahead and keep surviving, right? There's no, oh dear, it won't, or it keep surviving. It will act as if it is turned off when you are outside of the vessel. So I hit shut down and that says 73 days. So that's really what we're looking at here. And I think that should be fine. This orbit is short enough that I don't think the day-night cycle is going to be too impactful. If you can really call it a day-night cycle on a 5-kilometer potato. So yeah, there we go. We have successfully gotten this started up, and I'm just curious what it's going to look like to get out of here to our next target, because I could spend months, years doing this. Really, I really could. So it's hard to say what that is going to look like. Because we could really just spend a really long time here getting this stuff done. Getting all of the science that we could possibly want completed. Yeah, so it looks like we've got something like this. So all I did here was I just kind of adjusted my trajectory fairly manually until I had it so it points basically just retrograde along our orbit. And so we escape kind of retrograde-ish. Yeah, kind of retrograde-ish. And that brings us down about that far. So yeah, we're going to need to adjust this a bit. And it's really not too useful to have this done now. But yeah, you can see that it's going to cost us about 350 meters per second of delta V to get down into a trajectory that intercepts Phobos's orbit. So yeah, I feel like this is actually going to be less expensive than I was worried it was going to. Fingers crossed on that one, I suppose. But yeah, if we can get into this orbit, then this is basically a Hohmann transfer that brings us down into the orbit of Phobos. Then we can capture whenever it is convenient that we manage to capture. It will be a little bit easier because Phobos is a larger moon than Deimos is. And yeah, so that should do that with tons and tons of delta V remaining for us to continue to explore Phobos as well as Deimos. So yeah, that's kind of what we are doing with the Martian Moon Hopper. I feel like we are going to be successful on this mission, but let's just leave it here for now so that we can gather the science and yeah, send that back home to get more upgrades to further the program. But I think now, maybe finally, we will be able to move on with our crewed program. All right, so I'm checking in on the Gemini 6 once again, and it looks like the contract has reset for the third time, which is not great. So, and also it looks like we've stopped rotating, which is extra not great. I was kind of counting on that rotation, you know? All right, I have a very Kerbal idea. Let's check this out. So, Thomas Reed, you are going to get out on EVA. You should have nitrogen. We do have nitrogen, right? Yes, we do have nitrogen. Okay, you're just trying to freak me out. All right, so we are off and away and rotating rapidly and all of those things. And this is the direction of prograde out here. So, what if... Do I have any... No, there's no science to be done. This is fine. But what I can do is, what if I just grab the nose of the Gemini spacecraft and just shove it? What if I just push? That's working. It's working. Okay, check this out. Now I'm going to just go in and stop us when we get to... Whoops. Okay. So this is retrograde. So let's just get in the way. Come on, stop the rotation. Give us a little bump down. It's a little bit of a bump down. Yeah, so this seems to be working. Look at that. I can redirect the spacecraft just fine. Oh my gosh. Okay, so yeah, we're as a reminder, this craft, because we do not have the sufficient avionics, I only really have the capacity to turn the engine on and off. I can't do really anything else. It's not even a science core. But what I can do is I'm going to try to justify myself for force completing this mission by showing that I could get to the 750,000 kilometer apogee. Where are we at? Are we at our... We're actually just about at our perigee. Which is about right. Yeah, so I'm going to just do an ill-advised thing. Oh, I can, yeah, I can H and N, but I can't do any other types of rotation or point ourselves in any particular direction. But I can ullage us up and fire up the engine with no gimbal and no ability to do any other control whatsoever. We are pushing ourselves up and getting to the second of our two. We are rotating more rapidly now, but the second of our two orbits. Which, like I said, I'm probably just going to force complete this because I should have gotten this. Like, this one should be done. And then once we get above 725, come on. Arg. Dang it. All right. We've rotated a little bit too much. I'm going to need to wait until we get to, all right, we are rotating around. And once we get close to our prograde, a little bit here. All right, let's do this one more time. Fire it up. Nope, that's... Oh, I'm trying to raise my carriage. All right, we're making one more attempt to fire up the engine and raise our perigee to above 190, and we have lowered our apogee as well. All right, so we've made our apogee. Now I'm just trying to get our perigee settled, and it's really not far that we have to go. And there we go. So you can see now that we are, in fact, in the correct orbit for the second orbit. And we have spent 7 days in the first orbit. And now I'm going to leave us here rotating gently for another 4 days. And at that point, I'm going to just force complete this and try to get our astronauts home, because I feel like that I've earned it at this point. As ridiculous as this is, it is proving the proof of concept, right, of the way that this particular vessel works, even though I have to do this every darn time I load the vessel or load anything else. Drives me a little bit crazy, but it does keep our crew alive, and that's really what's important, I think. Yeah, so we have 6 days of a little bit less than 7 days of food left. We have 10 days of lithium hydroxide, 7 days of liquid hydrogen, 7 days of liquid oxygen to power our batteries, our fuel cells, that is. Plenty of oxygen, plenty of water from the fuel cells and the LOX to GOX converter. Our science is finished. We are all wrapped up and ready to go to bring that home. All of our data and samples have been packed up and are ready. So yeah, I'm going to leave this here for 4 more days. And with that, I am going to just kind of, I don't know, come at me if you don't think that that's right. I don't think this contract should have reset multiple times either. So there you have that. So yeah, that is going pretty well, even though it is going absolutely terribly, which is, you know, kind of a motto of my life a little bit. Ambient, oh, the ambient light level is, wow, even with maximum ambient light level, it's not actually doing anything. It's just that dark. All right, now we can actually see something. That's good. Yeah, so like I said, I don't think that I think there's something going wrong with this contract, and I don't understand what it is, and I have to imagine it has something to do with me moving around between multiple vessels and doing other things. Those timed contracts are notorious for not working quite right. So I am going to, after I've put in the requisite number of days, I am going to force complete, and we're just going to call that good. Let me know in the comments below what you think of that. And yeah, if you think that's terrible, I guess let me know in the comments below, and I can never do it again, but that's fine. I will be redesigning this service module a little bit to make sure that that doesn't happen again, because clearly what we need is avionics in here, and I already, on the lunar version of this, I have done that, but that was just something I didn't fix on this one. But I think that is where we are going to leave it. We finally got through some crude space flight a little bit, question mark, if we'll call this good. I've updated my whole install, so hopefully that works out better in the future. I will be doing a lot of redesign work and so forth, especially as I finally unlock some new parts, for goodness sake. I have done some redesigns already of like I've got a new Cecil rocket, I've got a new Titan that I'm excited to unveil. I'm going to be doing some variants on my Paladin rockets that are going to reflect some of the updates that I have to, because I think there's a lot of room for improvement in those. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of, I have some like initial prototype variants out there, and they don't work super awesome, but they could work a lot better if I got these updates and the latest version of engines and the latest tank types and all of that. So yeah, we will get to that. If you enjoyed this episode, please let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I will see you next time.